Hey UFC fans, what's up? Welcome to Watch List for UFC 205. I'm Megan Olivie, joined by Sean Shelby. UFC is making history on November 12th at Madison Square Garden, coming to New York State for the very first time. What does it mean that the Octagon has finally landed in that 50th state?
The last frontier. You know, it's exciting, it's amazing. I think it's gonna be electric in there. I think everybody around the world, I think they understand what this means, being at Madison Square Garden for the first time. You know, it's monumental.
The main event at UFC 205 is one that everyone is looking forward to. Eddie Alvarez versus Conor McGregor, champion versus champion. What are your thoughts on this matchup?
I think, you know, when they did their first face-off, to me that was a little bit jarring because you had Eddie Alvarez standing there in front of Conor, and Conor was visibly much larger than him. You know, and Conor does make 45. You know, Conor's got, I think, just a perfect frame for mixed martial arts, allows him to go up and down. But really, you know, my thoughts on the fight in general are, how's Eddie gonna play this? Is he gonna go out there, is he gonna stand, or is he gonna just go into full wrestling mode? And you know, is he gonna go the Pettis route, or is he gonna go the RDA route?
UFC lightweight champion, do you believe it?
And I think it's compelling match to me because of that.
At UFC 189, we saw Conor versus Chad Mendes. We saw Conor getting taken down, but still able to handle himself off of his back. What do you think we will see if this fight does go the wrestling route from Conor McGregor and his defense as well as his wrestling offense?
I don't know. That's what's so compelling about this. You know, is Conor's size and strength gonna make up for it? Obviously, on paper, Eddie's the much better wrestler. As far as jiu-jitsu goes now, I'm not sure. But, you know, if anybody's gonna end up on their back, it most likely, on paper, would be Conor.
The co-main event at UFC 205 is also for a title. It is for the welterweight strap between the Chosen One and Wonder Boy. That's Tyron Woodley and Stephen Thompson. Stephen Thompson hasn't lost in a while. He's red hot right now. He's won 7 in a row. But Tyron Woodley just beat Robbie Lawler. Not just beat him and knocked him out, but he's also got this incredible wrestling background. What do you see from this matchup?
Well, first of all, he's got to get out of the first round with the speed of Tyron. If he can do that, then he's got to avoid that takedown. What I find so amazing about him is that his ability to stop the takedown has gotten so much better, you know, over the years. You know, I think when he went up and he started training with Weidman, he just hit a completely different level. And so it's defending the second, third, and fourth, you know, takedown. I would suppose he's going to get taken down a couple times in the beginning. But, you know, once they start getting sweaty, he's harder to handle. Can he shuck that takedown off? And can he keep the space? Right. Keep the space to work from range and utilize his kicks and start teeing off.
Which a karate guy like him loves that range, and he also loves being able to surprise his opponent with what is coming next. We've heard in the back after his opponents have lost to him, they've said, oh, he didn't do what we practiced for. Is that sort of the fun of Stephen Thompson, that you never know what's coming?
Yeah, I mean, that's part of what makes him so special. But again, too, it's really, really difficult to train for somebody like that. You know, you can bring in somebody to emulate him, but truly, you're not going to find anybody like him.
What do you think about Tyron Woodley as the welterweight champion? He's a very, very well-rounded mixed martial artist. Do you feel like that will be a tough challenge for anyone in that division?
Yeah, I mean, Tyron, for a base, has wrestling, which is a prerequisite, I think, in most cases to be champion. And he's got the speed, he's proven that he's got tons of power. You know, he's got all the basic necessities you need. I'm not surprised that he beat Robbie. Listen, Tyron can beat anybody in the world at 170 pounds. He's a big, powerful, amazing human being. And once he puts that all together, he's hard to beat.
The third and final title fight on UFC 205 is between champion JJ and challenger KK. Both Polish undefeated strikers. That's Joanna Jędrzejczyk, who is the champion. Karolina Kowalkiewicz is the challenger.
You know how nowadays that word gangster gets thrown around a lot? Everybody gets called gangster. Joanna's a gangster. I forgot what event we were at, and I was walking by the Octagon, and she was sitting in the front row, and she grabbed me. She pulled me aside. She says, hey, I have a request. And, okay? And she said, I need you to sign Karolina. She goes, everybody in my country, they think, some people think that she's the best. She goes, she's not the best. She goes, I'm the best. I'm the best not in Poland, I'm the best in the world. I want to show everybody. So I need you to sign her for me so I can kick her ass. That's what kind of gangster Joanna is. You know, she's the only person to ever ask me to bring somebody else in outside the UFC so she can prove a point.
Karolina has held her own. She just defeated a very tough Rose Namajunas. What has her evolution, especially in the UFC, been like?
You know, what's interesting about her, actually what's interesting about both of them is they're both really slow starters. And so the first round, they just kind of get going. By the third round, I mean, they're hitting on all 8 cylinders and they're just throwing everything at their opponents. That's what makes this matchup so amazing. You know, you have to give the edge to Joanna. She's accustomed now to these UFC 5-round fights.
You know, interesting to note about this matchup is the fact that Joanna actually submitted Karolina when they fought in the amateurs in 2012. So she does hold this victory over her, which even though it was an amateur fight, you know does not sit well with Karolina.
And I would be incredibly surprised if this ended by submission.
The next matchup we're going to talk about is in the welterweight division, and this is really intriguing. This is between the Ultimate Fighter winner, Kelvin Gastelum, and weight class fence rider, Donald Cowboy Cerrone. This was one that kind of surprised me when it was announced. How did you guys decide this was the matchup to make?
When Robbie couldn't fight and, you know, you're looking around, you know, who to match Donald up with, there weren't many choices, but I think no matter what, the right choice was Kelvin Gastelum. Style-wise, it's a really intriguing matchup. And, you know, Kelvin, in his short UFC career, I think he's one of the most underrated tough winners ever. I mean, everybody overlooked him during the season. Everybody overlooked him in the finals, and look what he's done in his short UFC career. I mean, he's already got a win over the former champ. He lost a split decision to the current champ. He's championship material all the way around. And, you know, I think that this is a fantastic fight for Cowboy. This is going to say a lot for Cowboy if he can get by Kelvin. I think it's a really good barometer for him.
The next matchup at UFC 205 we're going to discuss is a little bit of an East Coast, West Coast rival. This one's in the featherweight division between Frankie Edgar and Jeremy Stephens. Frankie is going to be the hometown guy at Madison Square Garden. Right across the river in New Jersey is where he was born and raised. What do you think about this one?
I think Jeremy is more than happy to step into enemy territory. That guy doesn't care. This is your classic speed versus power matchup. I don't think wrestling will play into it because Frankie's definitely the smaller guy in this fight. He's going to have a hard time taking him down. I'm not saying he can't. I think it's just going to be the precision of Frankie, head movement, moving in and out against just, I mean, a guy that just swings home runs every single time. And so can he catch Frankie, and can Jeremy find his chin? And if he does, will Frankie stay standing?
All right, the final fight we're going to discuss today is between Khabib Nurmagomedov and Michael Johnson in the lightweight division. This is going to be bananas. This was actually the final fight added to UFC 205. Is this a fun matchup for you?
It's a really fun matchup. I think that this fight is actually kind of being overlooked in some sense. First of all, you have Khabib, who doesn't have to fight if he doesn't want to, and he's taking this fight. And you know, listen, I won't be surprised if Michael Johnson wins this fight at all, because one, Michael Johnson's a pretty good wrestler, and his hands are coming along. He's looking phenomenal. His last fight against Poirier, I mean, you just saw the speed and the power. And listen, Khabib, I think his weak point is his stand-up. And if Michael Johnson can keep it on his feet, you know, it could be real problems for Khabib. I'm just saying I see a recipe for Michael Johnson to realistically have a shot at winning against the #1 contender.
That's it for this edition of Watch List. UFC 205 is live from Madison Square Garden on November 12th, making history as the Octagon touches down in New York City for the very first time. We will see you there.